Oh dear, E3.
What, it was a lot better than I thought it was be, but still.
Yeah, it's still hell on earth though. So, welcome back to Let's Ramble. So, I've got my good rambling buddy with me here, Clarkey.
Hello.
He is still alive after the last video log, like, a year ago.
Don't let those movies deceive you. I am not actually a skeleton right now.
And he did not crush me with a giant Ravensdive sign.
That totally didn't happen.
So, we're maybe a bit late to the party on this, but E3 was just so weird this year. I kind of want to talk about it.
Well, I mean, I think what the general consensus is that it was a lot better than last year, but that's not exactly an achievement.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of conferences failed to notice that they needed to actually step up their game, and it showed.
So little self-awareness. So, kind of starting at the beginning, there was Bethesda, and Bethesda did a really decent job because they just announced so many cool things. They were just like, hey, here's Fallout 4, here's Dishonored 2, you get to play as this awesome woman with a face scarf, and she's going around killing people as black smoke.
You want that, right?
Look how pretty this is. Look, it's like you're sword fighting against, like, robots that look like they were part of Bayonetta or something. Everyone loves Bayonetta.
Yeah, I think the reveal for Fallout 4 was probably, like, the thing that made people their mind explode. It was really, really well done.
And I'm not even the biggest fan of Fallout, but the trailer they released for that was just really, really awesome. I was like, oh, it's Ron Perlman. He was a TV spokesman. That's so cool.
Well, it's like, not just sort of the trailers. They showed so much new stuff for that game. Like, they had the app thing that they released the day of the conference, which is actually pretty good. I've tried it out a bit. It is really fun. And then they like just showed you all of sort of the new mechanisms that they've added to the game with like the base building and stuff, which wasn't in the game like in Fallout 3, and it's just they've improved on that game so much.
It's like, hey, guess what? You can have a Pip-Boy, like a real one. Just put in your iPhone if you own an iPhone. So, yay, go you, iPhone people.
Yeah, I'm not getting that. I don't have an iPhone.
So we can just agree Bethesda basically was like kind of they're one of the big winners overall.
Yes, I can probably say that with confidence.
One of the weird things for me was I thought the Microsoft conference was going to be awful. I was watching a stream where we were playing a drinking game as we went along. And whilst, of course, they did use the word innovation a fair amount, it was nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be. I mean, yeah, they started with Halo 5, which actually looks kind of cool, but I don't have an Xbox One, so I'm kind of screwed there, and I don't feel the urge to buy one just to play Halo 5.
Yeah, I can understand that.
They showed, like, Recall, though, that weird thing. It's just like, hey, it's a dog. Oh no, the dog is dead, but you can kill the dog over and over, because, like, who cares? Its soul can just be put in other bodies.
Remember that emotion you feel after the dog in your games die? Well, you can feel that over and over again.
Hooray! That's a really nice touch, but there were so many dogs at E3, actually, now I think about it.
There were actually, not that that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Considering that was basically the best part of last E3, I can understand they would want to exploit that a bit more.
I mean, it sells games, Call of Duty Ghosts. Hey, look, here's a dog! You feel emotions now in your cold, hard soul.
And now you can stop the timer to see how long it takes for them to kill it off.
Yeah, there's that Tumblr which is like, does the dog die or something?
Yeah.
It's like you find movies or games or something, it's just like it tells you. And that means a lot to a lot of people.
It does. Well, I think that it did look like an interesting game, but from what they showed, it wasn't really too much to go on. Like, you can't really tell if it's going to be like a open world adventure game, or if it's going to be something like Last of Us, or something to that regard. So, I mean, it looks like a really interesting concept, but for now, I don't think there's too much to go on for that game.
I'm just always happy to see new stuff, really. I mean, were you really thrilled about the idea of more Call of Duty, more Halo?
Not well. Okay.
More FIFA. We'll get
Okay.
to
No.
that.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that now.
I mean, that's going to take up like 6 hours of this video.
I hope you guys are ready for that.
Yay!
But yeah.
No, they announced some good stuff. They also announced backwards compatibility, which is a brilliant move.
Yeah. The fact that they've actually listened to people about that after God knows how many years is actually quite nice for a change.
I mean, I think it's the one place they've kind of one-upped Sony. Sony does do a lot of HD re-releases to allow you to play old games, and they do tend to make digital versions which work on the new console. But you sometimes have to buy the game again. So I've got a load of PS1 games, and of course I bought them all when I got a PS Vita, because I am one of the 3 people on the planet who owns a Vita.
Yeah.
You should buy a Vita.
Yeah, I'll get onto that later as well, because it's something I actually do want to bring up.
Yeah, they should have made the whole conference just about Danganronpa. I mean, clearly.
Clearly, that would have been the most market-pulling move that they could have made.
Absolute Despair Girls is coming out later this year, which is an interesting...
Anyway, off topic.
Yeah, sorry. Screw you, Felix. I'll talk about Danganronpa. But yeah, the really, really interesting thing about Microsoft was just how little it sucked. They talked a lot about games. They didn't talk about features beyond games, really.
Yes.
They showcased some cool trailers. They had the new Dark Souls trailer, and it's just like, hey, here's a giant boss thing. But it's Dark Souls, so who cares? You get to fight this.
I think the biggest surprise for me of the actual Microsoft conference was the Gears 4 trailer. The fact that they showed the gameplay footage and it wasn't just a third-person shooter cover-based game. They actually showed that they could make tension and they could actually make an atmosphere within that demo. That was quite impressive for me.
I've met a fair number of people, despite how the game looks, they do care about the story and the emotions the characters feel.
Yeah.
Which is odd, because Gears of War just looks ridiculous on a surface level, really. It's just like, here's buff burly man with chainsaws. It's
Brofist!
Yeah. And there are games entirely like that, but the fact they try and go for a story or try changing it at all, that's kind of admirable. It's not really my thing, but I can kind of respect that.
Well, from what I understand, it's meant to be a prequel. So it's not going to have the same group of characters as the previous games, which is going to be interesting because I think when you reuse a specific character, it'll kind of force them to go into a specific sort of avenue in terms of gameplay and story. And the fact that they've rebooted what characters you play kind of allows them to open up a bit more. So I'm kind of interested to see where they go with that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where they're going with a lot of these things overall. I was kind of surprised that Halo 5 actually looked fairly good. 343 is admirable in that they actually tried different things.
Yes.
They made Halo 4 really story-oriented and made it mostly about the relationship between Master Chief and Cortana.
Yes.
Which it's a good direction to go in many ways, I think. It's not the same as the old Halo, but you don't want to do the same thing over and over again.
Well, yeah, I mean, they did something which was sort of expanded upon a little bit in the other games, but they just took it to like a whole new level, which I can appreciate. They weren't trying to live off the legacy of Halo. They tried to make it their own thing. And when a company does that with such a iconic title, you can appreciate the efforts, at least.
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool, really. There was talk about their new controller, and I was just like, oh yeah, I can switch the buttons around, hooray.
Yeah, literally, they were... I think they changed some of the bumpers or the triggers, and I think that was it.
Well, you can, like, switch the joysticks around with, like, different, like, pads for moving. It's the same thing, ultimately, in many ways.
Yes.
But I guess that will matter to someone, and it's not forced upon you. You don't have to buy it.
Yes.
Though I think they're giving them away with Oculus Rifts or something. So if you're buying an Oculus Rift, then have we got good news for you.
Speaking of Oculus Rift, did you see the actual conference for Oculus Rift?
No.
It was interesting. They showed, I forget the name of the game, but it was basically a space exploration game.
Okay.
So it was basically just you're in space. I think you're like driving in space within the cockpit. And
was it Elite Dangerous?
Yeah, I think that was it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a really good sort of display of what the Oculus can do.
That is an ideal choice, actually, for a game to play in first person, really, because, well, Elite Dangerous is all about the immersion of just sitting in a cockpit, and yeah, good choice, good choice.
Although, the reason why I bring up the Oculus is because, have you seen the new controller for the Oculus?
No.
It's basically, they've got a controller, and they've literally taken a chainsaw and just cut it in half.
Oh.
So you basically have a controller, one in each hand, both with thumbsticks and both with buttons.
I guess that kind of works. Like, maybe? It sounds really bad.
I mean, I can't really say much because I've not used it, but just by looking at the thing, I just don't think that would be useful
I know the Wii kind of does that already, but...
See, the Wii is different because you at least have motion control, so having it in separate hands makes sense.
If it was for a first-person boxing game with motion controls, that would make sense, I guess. But everything else, no, please, no.
I don't think there is a boxing game on the Oculus, but I could be wrong on that.
Oh, there should be.
There should be.
With tactile feedback.
I can literally feel them punching my face in.
So much immersion. I think we should probably get on to the really big issue of the whole thing, though. EA.
Do we have to? Do we have to?
Can you think of anything else about Microsoft which was really big?
Oh, no, I'm just trying to not talk about EA's conference because it was literally the worst thing on the planet.
It was next up canonically. It's amazing that in a world with oil spills and companies basically outright enslaving their workers and locking them in buildings, EA got voted several years as the worst company in America.
Yeah.
It says a lot about them, and their conference is no exception.
No, I've watched most of the conferences, and EA was one of, if not the worst one there. There was one redeeming factor, though, which we will go on to later. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, for the majority of it, it was not a fun experience.
It started off so promisingly as well. They started off with Unravel, which is the cutest thing in the entire world, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Like that little string person. And they brought out this guy with tattooed hands, and we were like, who's this guy? And he seemed a bit off, and then suddenly, partway through, we all pegged, oh, he's just really nervous. And he started showing his photographs of the little string person he'd made in real life, and like how he'd strung this person up and like taken all these pictures all over the place to kind of like, it's like, I'm making a game out of this thing I've done in real life with all these really cute pictures, and I'm like, it's like, you seem like a lovely person, your hands are shaking, it's okay, we like your game, it's like, don't be nervous, I want to buy it.
The thing is, I can understand his nervousness. With him being the first person out on stage for the conference, and being sort of new to the whole E3 experience, it can be quite daunting, but I think he did a good job.
Well, in psychology, the first impression is the most memorable bit, as is sometimes the last impression. Everything else in the middle does not make as much impact on your head.
Yes.
And that might have been what they were going for, because immediately after that, Welcome to the Danger Zone starts playing.
Yeah. The tonal shift is a bit of an understatement for that one.
There's always just one really incomprehensible moment at these conferences, and that was it.
No, it wasn't. I will get on to that later.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, but they brought this guy in a zombie costume from Plants vs. Zombies, dressed as one of the characters from the new Plants vs. Zombies shooter, and he walked on the stage just going like, yeah, give it up for me! And the boss is just basically like, just kind of giving the sort of head wag of just go away.
Who let this guy on? Why is he here?
It's like, it wasn't particularly funny. No one applauded it. I would have hated to be that guy, and I would have genuinely considered breaking script and then just fake proposing to the head of EA, because that would have got some laughs and would have made the entire conference a lot better.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they've kind of shot themselves in the foot a bit, because this is a sequel of the original Plants vs. Zombies Warfare game, right? It was basically Call of Duty with zombies and plants.
Yeah.
Nobody liked it.
There are some people who like it, and it was more interesting than many of the things they showed, but at the same time, it's not really my kind of thing. I like the first Plants vs. Zombies. It was a good tower defense game.
It was.
It has flaws, but it had a really fun sense of humour. It was charming, and it had a really catchy song at the end. I loved playing that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you compare PopCap from before they were owned by EA and afterwards.
Yeah, it's kind of tragic. It was just such a charming game, and when my 360 broke, I spent a lot of time playing it, and then they started making that, and it's got its fans, but I don't think it'll ever be that good.
No, it's not going to take Call of Duty by storm or anything.
The worrying thing was how long they spent talking about it, and I was just not interested. They started bringing up the little banner saying, hey, guess what? You know Star Wars Battlefront, that thing you all care about? It's in 35 minutes. Please, please, please come back.
Yeah, no, you know that they're kind of grasping at straws when they're actually, like, baiting people that hard with their game content.
It's almost a level of self-awareness in terms of, look, we know you're here for that one thing. It will be at this time. We understand. But then everything is so boring. Why didn't you just work on making the rest of the conference good?
Speaking of trying to make the conference good, Pele!
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 Pele, legendary footballer extraordinaire, footballer of the century, and unfortunately, and I don't think this is too controversial a thing, he's just not that interesting to listen to.
Well, I mean, I don't know why he was there. Like, he wasn't... as far as I'm aware, he's not helping them make the FIFA games. And as far as I can tell, he doesn't really have a tie with any of the FIFA games at all.
Wait, was it the Microsoft conference for like Forza or something where they brought out the car?
Yes,
and
they brought down a 4GT. Is it 4GT? From, like, the stage for no reason. It's just like, oh, so you guys looking forward to that new Forza game? Well, here's how to make you guys hyped. Here's a car.
And then just went up again, like, less than a minute later. It was great.
Like, you can just imagine the people at E3 just being like, okay, so we're setting up the stage so that the Microsoft conference can let 4GT down from the heavens for a minute. Like, putting all of that effort into letting that car come down and back up again is...
We want to hype people, but then not distract them from the graphics of our game, so we'll just have to get rid of the car.
It would have been actually fairly funny if it was like, well, Forza will have graphics that will make the 4GT look like this, and then have the car descend. That would be interesting, but...
It would have been really cool if they were just like, with our new holographic virtual, like, technology, we've been tricking all of you. We did not lower a car onto the stage. We lowered a hologram. That would have been amazing if they pulled off something like that, but they've got to wait till the future, I suppose, right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pele, right? So the people I saw, like, on the Twitch chats about all this were just... Everyone thought that, like, his interview had gone on for, like, 20 minutes or in some cases half an hour. Yeah. Where he was just talking quietly, and the only bit I can remember of all of it was, like, maybe Swedish girls like to stroke his head. He was just so boring. He seems like a nice man, but he is just not interesting to talk to. Many sportsmen are interesting to watch. You watch them for their game, not for their speaking.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is, when they bring on people on stage, they're there to talk about the game. Like, they're a developer, and they'll tell you what they're developing. With Pele, it's like, he literally was there. I feel like he was just there as sort of filler, because they wanted to keep people on to the conference as long as possible.
I know, but at the same time, they had other things they could have worked with, but they just kept talking about sports. It's like, hey, guess what? We got basketball, we've got Madden, we've got FIFA. It's like, you want to buy all these games which are the exact same every year.
But guys, we've made changes. Look, the graphics are like 2% better than they were last year.
Hooray! And let's devote like over half the conference to this. I timed the entire FIFA thing and it took about 15 minutes. So you had like maybe 10 minutes of Pele, and then they kept putting trailers before and after featuring Pele, so I kind of factored that in, and it goes up to like 15 minutes. And I was just like, why is there so much Pele? I just don't care anymore.
Well, I mean, I can understand that the sports games do appeal to a certain audience. It's just most of the people who watch E3, they're not that audience. No. So I don't think they have fully grasped what they need to do at E3 just yet.
Yeah. The really tragic thing was that the good part of the conference that came after that, Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
Yes.
And Mirror's Edge has made flaws, but I think it looks really cool because they're like, hey, it's open world. It's like you can do package deliveries and things. Everything that you thought you'd be doing in the original, you can actually do now. And we've not released it like 1 year after the original. We've been working on it for several years now, so that's a good sign.
Well, good or bad.
As long as I don't have to, like, spend money in-game to unlock, like, better wall running or something, then I'm fine. I loved the game so much in the original, even if it's all lies.
Yeah.
Even if, like, it doesn't look nearly as good as it is, and they just re-release Mirror's Edge, but open world with a slightly different plot, I will still love and accept it. I will still buy it and buy all the t-shirts.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that they only showed a trailer was a bit disappointing, but the fact that the game actually looks good, it's kind of boding well. But yeah,
they showed a little bit of gameplay footage, like about 15 seconds, and it looked kind of cool generally. They've adjusted the lighting a bit. I like how there's ads and things around the city, which make it feel more alive and not like you are one of 6 people living in the city.
Yeah, I think that was one of the main problems with the original game.
It was kind of a big theme though, and like how just generally it seems like because they've been wiping out dissenting voices and how everyone's just living in fear, maybe people just don't go out anymore.
Yes, that. Well, considering how many more people are actually in the world in Catalyst, I think it's safe to say that they're kind of out of hiding now.
I'm just kind of intrigued by the story though, but the tragic thing is on the stream I was watching, it froze just like immediately before the Mirror's Edge bit. And it froze on Pele's face, staring into my soul. So it was just stuck there for several minutes. And when it came back in, they'd stopped talking about Mirror's Edge and went on to Madden or something like that, more sports. And I was like, oh my life. I went away from the conference, went to YouTube, and I was like, nope, someone's already uploaded this. And sure enough, they had, so I just watched it there.
Yeah, well, no, to be fair, I think that was actually part of the conference, because Pele, I think, stayed into the soul of many people during that conference.
It's like, he was only talking for like 10 minutes. How did it feel like for eternity? It's like, it's not bad enough for him to wreck the conference. He has to wreck time and space as well.
But back onto Mirror's Edge, though. The fact that it's a prequel is actually fairly interesting. Like, I think a lot of people were not happy with how the original Mirror's Edge ended. So the fact that they're actually not going to finish off what happened at the end of that game is quite an interesting take.
Well, there's nowhere to go with it. Like, quite literally, that game ends with you on a roof, a very heavily guarded roof, and there is nowhere you can reasonably escape to because you're on the tallest building in the city, and the only helicopter off it has just been destroyed.
Yes.
So logically, there's no way you're getting off that rooftop. But that's fine. You don't have to think about that because it's a prequel now, so it's not our problem anymore.
That is true, yes.
I read an interview with like some people who had gone ahead and playtested the game at E3, like they did a short demo.
Yes.
And they say that more or less at some early point in the game, you're basically released from like kind of a rehabilitation camp. And you've got a tracking bracelet on you, and then a runner comes up, and it's just like, hey, 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 join us! Here's a contact lens that highlights the paths we use. So there's an in-universe explanation for runner vision, which is something, it's the stupidest thing to explain, but I still am really happy they did that. It's really funny to me.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have to. I don't think people would have minded if they didn't, but the fact that they're actually trying is just sort of showing how much they care about the universe, at least.
I'm just happy they gave it a chance. Like, if anything, this conference shows that EA's not willing to take many risks. So any risk they take at all just makes me happy.
Yeah. Moving on, though, the thing that they sort of played at the end, the Star Wars. What did you think of it?
I did not know it was first person for a portion of it. And when I saw that, I was like, that is... I did not know I wanted that, actually. They did some good jobs on selling me on it. The gameplay looks quite good. Everyone just thought, hey, this is shaping up fairly nicely. It's not what many Star Wars fans would want in a video game. A lot of people just want, like, a new Knights of the Old Republic game, really.
Yes.
But, hey, I think it looks kind of cool. I'd probably give it a shot. It looks fun, so I'd be happy to play it.
Well, being someone who played the original, like, is it Battlefield?
It's
Battlefront.
It's Battlefront for the new thing. I'm not sure if there was
it was Battlefront. Yeah, my memory's awful.
There's so many Star Wars games.
But yeah, the original Battlefront games, I played a bit of it, but I also have friends who are really big fans of the game, and apparently they've sort of removed a lot of features from the original games.
Yeah, I saw that. There was like charts showing just how little content there was compared to the originals. And that's something they've been doing a lot, really. I mean, I've seen that in racing games. They've been removing the number of tracks, the number of cars, etc.
Yeah.
Gets worse every year, but hey, it looks prettier.
It does.
Graphics are everything.
I mean, I think the gameplay that they showed was good enough to keep people interested in the game. It's just a shame that half the people left the conference by then because of certain sections, as it were.
Pele.
Pele!
I was watching one person actually commentating over it, and they just seemed so depressed by the end of it. They didn't seem like they're going to come back for the EA one everyone just seemed really dejected by the end of that. I felt really dejected. I just wanted to drink rum and forget everything that had ever happened.
Does that mean that you missed the Ubisoft conference?
Oh, hell no, because I actually like Ubisoft games. I love Assassin's Creed, I love Far Cry, and it's hard for me to defend them, because last year was a disaster for Ubisoft.
It was.
They had Watch Dogs, which was kind of underwhelming. Most people are willing to admit that.
And a lot of controversy surrounding the game as well doesn't help.
Yeah, and then there was Unity, which, less said about that, the better.
Yes.
As an Assassin's Creed fan, I really liked Rogue that year, which is probably my favourite Assassin's Creed game at this point, next to Black Flag.
Which is a silver lining. Like, it wasn't all bad.
It was a really nice thing. I mean, I played about 2 hours of Unity and I was like, oh, I hate everything. And then...
Wasn't last year Far Cry 4 as well?
I did like Far Cry 4. It was Far Cry 3 again, more or less, but you got Pagan Min. He was fun. It had issues. I don't like how just everyone, like, says, hey, you're RJ Gale, do this thing for us, and then just closes a door in your face. I want to just go with Pagan Min because he's the only person not closing a door in my face.
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't played it, but from what you've told me about the game, it does seem like they've actually put a lot of thought into some of the story aspects and into some of the gameplay.
It was kind of cool, and it had some pretty, like, interesting morally grey areas, so that's something that's nice in a video game.
It is.
And the endings were a bit more... I'd say the endings work out a little bit better than in Far Cry 3, where the endings were kind of awful.
Yeah, no. That particular ending, which I won't say for spoilers, but that particular ending with the shortest game experience that you can have with that sort of with Far Cry 4, that's a fairly interesting ending, I have to say.
That's my favourite ending. I think that should be the canonical ending.
It would be nice if it was.
But getting back on track, kind of, this year they didn't talk about much of that at all. There was no mention of anything like Far Cry. There was no sequel to Watch Dogs, which a fair number of people were anticipating, because Watch Dogs did feel like it was building up to a sequel.
Yes.
But there was no announcement of that whatsoever.
They did, however, announce a game which I'm actually looking forward to. Did you see the section for Honored?
Yes! It wasn't exactly something I was amazingly thrilled about, but every person I've seen is just like, this looks amazing, and they brought out the amazing bearded, like, pirate man.
Yeah, bearded pirate man with a pimp stick. I mean, come on, you can't get any better than that.
It's just like, hey, buy my game. It's just like, I made a game about Vikings. Look at me, I have got so much Viking blood in me.
I could literally kill all of you by just standing here.
He was just so cool. I mean, I wish we could just, like, have him hosting E3 every conference.
It would have been nice.
Speaking of the host for Ubisoft was actually really good. I mean, she was, like, a little bit, like, snarky towards a lot of people. It's like, yeah, we've had to wade through a sea of crap on Reddit to get to the constructive criticism, but we have heard you. And it's just like, wow. And she swore a lot, but to be fair, they brought out, like, Matt Stone and Trey Parker at the beginning, so clearly they're just a bad influence on her.
And to be honest, the fact that they've actually closed off E3 now to the general public means that they can be a lot more adventurous with their conferences, as it were.
Yeah, it's been closed off for a while, really. I mean, you've always needed, like, a gaming journalism pass for some time now.
Yeah.
And it's... that conference, though. I mean, like, she came on and she just started swearing with the South Park guys.
Yeah.
And after, like, the doldrum that was EA, my mind was just blown. They announced a new South Park game. I was just like, wow, this is... You did not have a tough act to follow, did you?
I felt kind of bad for them, because she literally put both of them in sort of a really sticky situation, in the sense that they were like, so I thought you weren't going to make any more games. And they would just have to stand there being like, yeah, well, we kind of wanted to make this one now. And I felt really bad for them at that point. It's just like, they literally came on stage to, like, display their game for you guys, and you're literally...
And they insulted bad. They were just like, oh, I think these these earpieces and microphones just look like effing stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow. It was just such a surreal thing to start to, and I was like, am I actually watching this, or am I just dreaming right now?
And speaking of surrealism, the fact that she started flirting with someone on the actual crowd.
Oh god, that guy. Was it like the guy that got dressed up as the Assassin's Creed guy?
Yes.
As, let's make a meme, everybody. They were doing so well up to that point because she actually got some genuine laughs out of the audience. That is a monumental achievement if you've ever watched an E3 conference.
Yes.
That is amazing. The fact that she just felt like a real person and not just someone they wheeled out who was treating you like an idiot or someone who did not know how to public speak. They made a good choice. And I think it worked out fairly well for Ubisoft.
Yes. It worked a lot better than last year. Last year, people were not exactly too... they didn't really like her as much as this year, I think.
Yeah, this was a year of kind of like listening to criticism and improving from it. But they still did the whole, hey, let's make a meme thing. And I was like, oh, please, no. You were doing so well.
Yeah. I mean, I think past that, though, some of the games they announced were interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't get hyped for an Assassin's Creed game anymore due to just what's happened over the past couple of years.
Yeah, sorry, I've probably ruined it for you forever.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, I can understand why people like it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do enjoy Black Flag, but I think the track record they have had recently, on top of all of the other issues they've had, kind of doesn't appeal to me anymore.
I mean, I've got kind of a long-standing history of it because with the exception of Revelations and all the side games like, I don't know, DS or whatever, I've played through every single Assassin's Creed game, and Unity was just very, very disappointing, and in a year of disappointments, it was probably one of the worst ones for me. I had so much buyer's remorse about it.
Yeah.
And kind of wish the Steam refund system had been invented at that point.
Oh, you weren't the only one.
And it's like, when they were charging £50 as well. So they were a little bit apologetic, but oh well. It just makes me apprehensive about Syndicate because Assassin's Creed Syndicate looks cool in principle. It's Victorian London. You're playing as a really fun British guy who goes around beating up like gang member Templars on the streets of London. Jack the Ripper's probably in here somewhere. Oh, blimey, governor.
Yeah,
it's like you got little street urchins and they help get you intelligence on bloody Nora, your Templar gang leader.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll be really surprised if Sherlock Holmes and Jack the Ripper are not involved in this game in some capacity.
It gotta be. I mean, like, they'll get Arthur Conan Doyle maybe in somehow. Though I'm not sure if he was actually around in that era. My history's probably quite off.
Yeah, well, I don't think that would stop them, but, you know.
No, they'd find a way. It's like, you run into really young Arthur Conan Doyle. This baby gets the inspiration for, like, a book series.
Yes. Well, I have to say, though, there is one thing stopping me from actually wanting to get the new Assassin's Creed game.
Oh.
And I'm not sure if it's because I'm British, but their accents are so bad. It's so bad. I don't know who they got to do British voice acting, but it doesn't seem like they got anyone who's British, which is a bit worrying.
Which is kind of weird, considering like they got people doing like the Cockney British accents for Unity. Is set in France? Call blimey, monsieur.
Would you like a baguette?
Pip.
But yeah, I mean, I seriously question the sound director.
I love it. It's charming. It's like, hey, this is what Americans think we sound like. Yay.
I don't think I can be happy with being stereotyped to that degree.
I don't know. I think many British stereotypes are kind of flattering in that apparently we're all extremely insane and evil, which is a better stereotype than incompetent.
I wonder who that's aimed at. But, yeah.
Many countries, now that I think about it. I think everyone thinks of each other as incompetent, apart from maybe the British, who we just get stereotyped as drunk, which is not inaccurate.
No, yes, it is definitely not untrue.
I mean, I got this bottle of rum, so...
Well, in your defense, though, non-alcoholic Kronenberg.
Yeah, this stuff's quite nice. It's I wanted to stay lucid enough to try and remember everything about this.
Yes, but
so I'm mixed with this.
But anyway, I think it does be an interesting game, but the voice acting sounds like nails on a chalkboard to me, so I don't think I can appreciate the game as well.
I've had people send me like disparaging comments about my voice before, so I'm not one to judge really. I mean, to someone listening to this, I was nails on a chalkboard and they switched off.
Yes.
So guess what? This is what a British person sounds like, apparently.
Well, I mean, I think if they have an option to maybe play it in another language, I might be actually interested in that case.
Oh, je suis Jack the Riddler.
If they do that British accent in the other languages, I will go into hysterics, literally.
Guten Tag, ich bin Jacob Fry, an Assassinjagd.
Oh God, please, no.
I must lose as many subscribers with my accents as possible.
Oh God, I think it might actually be working.
Yay, destroy the channel. Okay, back on topic.
Yes. That happens quite a lot.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting conference, and there's just so much to talk about.
There is.
So, getting off Assassin's Creed, I'll just conclude by saying the quick combat system looks cool, but it reminds me a bit too much of Batman, so there's elements of that in there.
Yes.
As is the grappling hook. And overall, it's kind of cool, but some of the ideas are a little unoriginal, and I hope there are some surprises in it. It will be better than Unity, because they've worked more on the engine, and it's a better setting and better characters, because the characters of this game look kind of fun. I want to see more of them.
Well, it's going to be better than Unity because they have a female assassin, and it seems like they've learned how to code females now.
Yay, women aren't too hard to animate. You just put motion capture on them.
But yeah,
It's not like they had a whole studio for that or something.
moving swiftly along before, Dishonored.
Yeah, it's like that was not an Ubisoft one. We did that with Bethesda at the beginning.
Shit, I am. Yeah,
But yeah, Dishonored, right? Female assassins, woo!
Oh, my memory is failing me right now.
Yeah, well, we've been trying to forget this, but it's not been going well.
Yeah, well, I mean, my favourite conference we still have to talk about, so that'll be interesting to see what your opinion is on that.
To kind of more quickly abridge some of the Ubisoft stuff, I think it was very good overall. They talked about a lot of good stuff, and they announced some kind of interesting games. The Rainbow Six gameplay looked good, and they seemed to be quite genuine about it, because they were like saying, oh, hey, you guys actually beat this, well done on you.
Yeah.
As if they'd been having trouble with it before. It had kind of an interesting saying, and the amazing thing about Ubisoft is with every announcement they made, like a new Tom Clancy game, or like with Assassin's Creed Syndicate, or anything at all, they got genuine applause and cheers out of the audience.
Yes.
The people were enthusiastic about these games, and starting with the South Park game got everyone excited, and then they kept going from there.
Yes.
They did a really, really good job, and I've probably forgotten all the games they've announced, but at the same time, the ones I saw, I was like, this is good. I think you've done a good job.
Well, apparently, I think Dishonored is made by Ubisoft, so I can't exactly say too much on that front.
Let's hope it's not, otherwise you'll have to climb radio towers to unlock the old Whaling Town map.
That would be an interesting concept, but
I wish they'd stop doing that.
Yes, moving swiftly along then.
There was Sony. I did not see all the Sony. I watched the highlights, and there were a lot of highlights.
I watched all of it, and it was glorious.
It's so many good announcements. It's just hey, look, it's Final Fantasy VII, and it looks gorgeous. We're doing a big remake. Hey, look, Shenmue. You like Shenmue? Here's some Shenmue.
Okay, I'm a bit. I question the Shenmue one because that isn't actually a Sony game.
No, I think they just they've been supporting it, haven't they?
Well, supposedly so, but from what they showed at the conference, all that people can understand is that Sony really likes this Kickstarter and you should back it.
That's a big publicity boost, and I think it's kind of a nice thing for them to do, really.
Yes.
It kind of encouraged it, and it seemed like they're supporting the development of it in even the smallest capacity, and that increases the chances, so even them acknowledging it was a good move.
I just sincerely hope that they actually bring out Shenmue 3 onto PlayStation 4, because that would be embarrassing otherwise.
I mean, the only way they could have really improved it was if they'd announced Half-Life 3 and said they'd bought Silent Hills and were going to release it today, so...
Yeah, that would have been nice. But yeah, the start of the conference, I'm not sure if you've actually heard of The Last Guardian.
I love The Last Guardian, because I have played Shadow of the Colossus, and it is probably my favourite video game ever made.
Yes.
Next to, something really generic like Portal, which I really love.
That's... Okay, I question you saying Portal's generic, but...
Well, it's there's so many puzzle games like it now, and it's become a codifier in the same way, you look at Half-Life 2 and it's a classic, but there's so many games like it now.
Yes, yeah.
And it's become a genre starter, and you got games like the Talos Principle, which are very good, but it's you can see the influence.
You can. But yeah, Last Guardian, the fact that they started the conference with that was quite the good start.
It's not vaporware!
Look, guys, we've actually got a release date now!
Oh, I was so happy about that. I mean, I just adored Shadow of the Colossus. It is just such a beautiful game.
It is.
And to see Team Ico actually being able to release, your massive dog-bird thing, which would have wonderful adventures. Oh no, the dog's gonna die. Oh god, no.
But it's half dog, half bird, so maybe only half of it will die.
Oh, that's fine then. Okay, that's good.
And then it'll become a bird.
Sure, why not?
But yeah, I think that was a strong start. And then with Shenmue 3, that was really interesting. The Final Fantasy VII kind of blew everyone away. I don't think anyone was expecting that.
Yeah, it's like, I've heard they've been really resistant to remaking Final Fantasy VII all this time. And to see them suddenly do this, I mean, everyone's minds were just blown about it, and I don't love Final Fantasy to the extent other people do. I like the games. I prefer 6 because I'm an awful person. But yeah, it was just really cool to see. I was looking at the graphics and I'm like, this looks beautiful. This is great.
The one caveat I have with that game is that they've said that it's not going to be a remastering. They're literally going to remake the game again. And with Square Enix as they are right now, I am kind of worried as to where they would take the original game, where they would change stuff. But if they keep it as close to the original storyline as possible, I think there won't be too many complaints.
Yeah, it's... Every time I look at a Square Enix game, often it's very, very visually overdone to the point I'm not really sure what I'm looking at.
Yes.
So that's a big problem with Final Fantasy 13. I just look at everything like, there's just so much sensory overload here. It's like I'm tripping balls, fantasy balls.
Well, I mean, the fact that people who saw the trailer, I think there was a common consensus that people said, we weren't demanding a remake of Final Fantasy VII, but because of that trailer, I wouldn't mind trying it out. And I think that's a really good response to have.
There was also, I think, the announcement that the PC version would also be coming to PS4, so you still get the original version in some capacity.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's the nice thing about when they do a remake or a reboot. The original version still exists, unless George Lucas is doing something.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. But it's still there. You can still enjoy it. It's great. So, I'm just like, I'm happy for everyone in that regard.
Yes, I have no complaints with that at all.
I think they did a very good job. Were there any other highlights of Sony?
Oh, okay. I forget the name of it. The new IP they did, the game that they showed after Last Guardian, the one with the mecha dinosaur beasts.
Oh, that was so cool.
Oh, it's really annoying me, I can't remember the name of it now.
I don't remember either, but it was like Monster Hunter, where you're against robot dinosaurs, and that just sounds amazing.
I'm literally going to look this up right now.
Yeah, the trailer for that, it was just fantastic. That was a great thing about E3 this year. There was so many cool things announced, and they announced new things. They announced good reboots and a lot of things people wanted. And even at the worst conferences, they still showed off some good stuff.
Yes.
I mean, even EA had, like, sort of Unravel and Mirror's Edge Catalyst and Star Wars Battlefront.
I would say that there was one exception to that, which we will get to later, if we get the time to. But
yeah, that was a very impressive feat, really. But that's fine. Moving on from Sony generally, I mean, many people think they're the winner of it, and... yeah, they did a really good job. I think I might tie them with Bethesda generally.
Yeah. I think it was unfortunate for Microsoft that they came on before... Well, actually, I think it's fortunate and unfortunate that Microsoft was first. I think the fact that they were on before Sony meant that their conference was a lot more sort of accepted by people. The fact that they improved as much before, like from last year, was a good to see. But the fact that Sony was on afterwards and everyone's just talking about Sony now, I think that kind of was a shot in the foot for Microsoft.
It's kind of a pity, but I'd argue that was the best conference Microsoft has done in a long time. And I'm happy for them. They're improving, so fair enough. And people will appreciate the backwards compatibility.
Yes.
If you're an Xbox owner, I'm sure you are quite happy with how that conference went. I don't own an Xbox One, so it's not really my problem anymore. It's I'm a PC gamer, and I'm sure their conference went swimmingly. But yeah, moving on, after that was Nintendo. Nintendo is actually quite easy to cover because it was only about an hour long, oddly enough.
Yes.
They don't really do conferences. They do these weird videos where it's like a showcase of trailers with some sketches in between, and we'll just get to the elephant in the room. Muppets.
Yeah, no, I think it was... I think what they were trying to do with the puppetry worked. People remember the puppetry, but I think...
it's so stupid.
It's unorthodox. I think it's safe to say that it was very unorthodox.
I loved it. It's like the expressions on the Muppet cameraman's faces. That was actually really cool. Makes me smile just thinking about that.
I do think, though, that the Nintendo conference was a bit disappointing.
It was definitely in terms of announcements. I mean, the funny part for me was when they announced that anime game, which was the most anime thing I've seen in my life.
Which one was that?
I don't remember because the entire thing was in Japanese. And, like, it had some title, which was just 2 letters, so it was something like, Feh.
Fair.
I
can't remember that one.
I don't remember what it was, but like they didn't put subtitles, so it was just like you have no idea what the story's about.
Well, I mean, like the issue I had with the Nintendo conference was they showed stuff that had already been announced and had already had hype built up for it. So they showed the new Xenoblade game. They showed the new Fire Emblem game, which I'm really hyped for.
Yeah, Fire Emblem's amazing.
It does. They showed the new Street Fighter characters, which were leaked before the E3 conference, so people already knew about it.
I think the reason a lot of people were disappointed because it was mostly announcing a lot of party games. It's just like, hey guys, it's like we got here a Metroid game. It's a party game.
No, people were really not happy with that. Like,
hey, look at all the amiibos we have.
I was like, oh yeah, you can play a Metroid game without Samus. That sounds like a great idea, right?
Well, after Metroid Other M, maybe people do want that. But but... Ooh, send me your YouTube dollars.
Yeah,
it's like it was a bit disappointing in terms of announcements, but I have a theory regarding all that. They mentioned very briefly they're working on a new console and that they're going to be talking about it next year. I think they're literally using Byte right now, and they're like, let's just talk about some of the games we're releasing at the moment, like this upcoming year, and then we are going to freaking blow some minds next time. Because they've probably got a bunch of games lined up for the announcement of their new console, whatever it is, and you want to keep that under wraps so you can just blow it all at once. Like, there's no point announcing a new console if you don't have games to go with it.
Yes.
That's where the Vita failed.
And that's kind of where the Wii U failed as well, which is why it's not been as successful as it could have been.
They've been kind of learning from that lesson, and if they got, like, something next year like, BAM! New Zelda game, new Mario game, like, hey, we're bringing back this thing you really love, or whatever, or, like, we're doing a big re-release or special edition of that, because Nintendo people love that kind of thing. Or even if it's just, like, new IP we've kept secret this whole time. If they bring all that together and then release it at the same time, that is a really good move.
Yes.
They did an okay-ish conference, really, and that's all they needed to do this year, because they didn't need to announce things early.
Yes.
And then just, like, not actually have anything to show for it for a long time.
Yeah.
They were going to announce it when they were ready.
I think the fact that it was on a different day to Sony and Microsoft helped.
Absolutely.
And I think the fact that it was so low-key... I think they must have known that Microsoft and Sony were going to blow people's minds away. So if they were to sort of do the announcement of the new console this year, I think it might have been sort of not as welcomed as it could have been.
I think they just strategically lost this one so they'd be able to, like, have more stuff prepared for next one when they could truly win.
Yes.
Because Nintendo is way more clever as a company than people give it credit for at times.
Yeah, they are.
They've always been ahead of the curve on things like motion controls and handheld stuff. They sell a lot of things, and they've got some really good exclusive stuff, so I'm not even a Nintendo fan. I don't own any Nintendo stuff anymore. But I respect what they do. They're clever.
Yes. Well, I mean, the thing is... this time last year, I don't think I would have ever thought of owning a Wii U. But they've released so many good games this year. Like, just so many. And they've announced, like, so many other games, like the Xenoblade games and stuff like that, which are going to be coming out, that sort of are twisting people's arms a bit into actually getting the Wii U now.
I mean, my housemate has a Wii U, and I'd consider it because he's got Bayonetta 2 on there, and I'm like, this is... this looks like the most fun thing ever. It's so stupid, but it's so cool.
I mean, I think Sony and Microsoft did have the better conferences, but I think in the long term, this might be better for Nintendo just to...
I mean, a lot of, like, what's been happening at the moment has been damage control because Xbox did not have a good launch, and the PS4's been doing fairly well, but they've not really had that big title to, like, draw people in.
And now they have, like, 7.
They solidified their power bases, really, and then with Nintendo, it's a case of, oh yeah, we've got something under us, just whatever. They're just, like, they're calm and confident in what they've got coming up, so good on them. Going on to something a lot more unpleasant.
This is
Square Enix.
What happened?
Let me just preface this with I'd like to say I like a lot of Square Enix, like not games they've necessarily worked on, but games they publish.
Yes.
Life is Strange, for example, is one of my favourite games of like the past year I've been playing.
Yes.
And yeah, sure, it's like Mean Girls meets the Butterfly Effect, but I have no shame. It's just so cool. It's so well written. It's lovely, and I appreciate the company like gave it a chance because Life is Strange went to a bunch of other publishers, and they were just like, no, you got to change it, and the girl can't look like this, and you can't have a girl, and it's like,
Yeah.
and it's just like, no, let's, and then they went Square Enix, it's like, yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Yes.
So fair play to them, but then it's, why were they so boring?
I mean, I have a theory that Square Enix do not know how to do a conference. I mean, if you compare how they did their conference, they were a lot more professional, I would say. Or they tried to be a lot more professional.
It's like, it's a professional conference, like maybe where you talk to, like, stakeholders, or if you're, like, pitching something.
Yes.
It's not something to get people excited, which is a very big problem. Because they were somehow able to talk, like, about Just Cause 3, about Deus Ex Human Revolution and stuff,
Yes.
like, about like, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Kingdom Hearts 3, literally, I was in sort of a panic because I'm a massive Kingdom Hearts 3 fan. I mean, you know, I have a life-size Keyblade.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that after all these years, after everything that Square Enix have said, at the end of the Kingdom Hearts trailer, they said, now in development, literally made my heart sink. Like, what were they doing for the past... no, I don't want this to happen. I've been waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 for God knows how long, and if they still haven't actually fully started development on it yet, or have just started recently, I don't know.
It's best to not build up hype too early, because if you do that and you take too long, it's just like, is this vaporware?
Watchdog!
Yeah. Also, if you don't finish it properly, I mean, they've been talking about it for years. This is like, hey guys, Kingdom Hearts 3, and the next year, hey guys, Kingdom Hearts 3.
See, the thing is, if they were to do that, it would make sense if they were actually showing you new stuff. But this year, I think the only new stuff that they showed were the two people who were playing chess.
Yeah.
And everything else, like the combat with the Disney rides, we had seen that all last year. Like, they announced new, like, the worlds that will be used in the game, which is, like, nice. But, I mean, you didn't actually get to see anything. You didn't get to get more hyped over the game that you were already.
It's just so tragic. I mean, I had the exact same problem with Mirror's Edge Catalyst. And it's just like, oh hey, they're not announcing anything about release dates or anything. All they're doing every year is just like showing a little bit of like the artists talking about, hey look, we want to make Faith look pretty in a cool way.
Oh god.
And like, hey, we're like working on combat right now because everyone loves combat. And then suddenly this year they're like, okay, it's basically done. We're releasing in like 9 months. Here's an exact release date of February like the 23rd or something. Go team. I was like, what? I wasn't expecting you to actually do anything. I thought you were just going to say, oh yeah, it's not done yet, see you next year. And it's like, nope. But with Square Enix, it's just like, hey guys, we develop games.
Isn't that lovely?
You should applaud now.
Yeah, I mean, they did release some new games, like the Worlds of Final Fantasy. That was interesting. Chibi Final Fantasy characters fighting game. Well, not fighting game, but like chibi Final Fantasy characters who fight against things.
I just don't get how they failed. Deus Ex Human Revolution is a really cool idea, but like everything they talked about the entire conference was just they just made something really boring. I mean, I've seen people getting hyped up over Nier 2, and I never even played the original Nier, but apparently it's got its fans.
Yes, it does.
And the new character looks interesting. A lot of female characters this year, and they all look really cool.
Yes.
But yeah, she looked kind of interesting, and they got this guy wearing that moon helmet on stage, because the moon is a thing in, like, Nier or whatever.
Yes.
And he just went on there and was just completely deadpan, wearing this, like, bizarre, like, moon helmet, and they were just acting like it was a regular thing.
Yeah. I don't think, when watching the Square Enix conference, I don't think anyone raised their voice at all. I think it was basically monotone, the same level for the entire conference.
Make Just Cause 3 boring. It's like the entire game is it's junk food. Like it's it's fun and like bad for you in so many ways, but you just can't stop with it. And it's just like, no, we're just gonna make it really boring.
I think that Square Enix was saved only because the games that they announced were actually games that people were looking forward to.
They were all amazing announcements. Like, if you compare it to something like Bethesda or even some of the other conferences, like especially EA.
Yeah, compare it to EA, yeah.
They have such a strong lineup, but they were just so bored about it. And I am amazed they made these games sound less interesting. I had to keep tuning out and tuning back in to find out what was going on. And like, the Moon guy was kind of the highlight for me because he comes on and, yeah, they just completely, like, treat it like a normal thing. And I'm just like, wait, does he walk around the office wearing this helmet?
Yeah.
And you're just all so jaded at this point, you just accept it. Because that's a much better interpretation of this conference.
Yeah, it's just like, how can I enjoy myself now? It's just, how can I actually get enjoyment out of this conference? And if that is the only way you're going to get it, then by God, just do it.
I just brought up a repressed memory in my mind. Yeah, I think it was the Ubisoft conference. Why did they bring out Jason Derulo?
Yeah, I was hoping we were going to miss that.
Oh, yeah, Jason Derulo. Oh, I'm sorry, Jason Derulo.
Well, okay, in his defense...
I can't fake auto-tune in my own voice. It's really difficult. Jason Derulo. There you go, you'll get the bubbly quality.
Yeah. I was disappointed, but not because of Jason Derulo. Because, to be fair, if they had gotten anyone else, it probably would have gone the same way.
Yeah.
But the fact that they...
Look, he didn't perform Wiggle.
No, that would have been interesting. But
yeah.
I think bringing Jason Derulo into this is the same issue that I have with bringing Pele onto the EA one. It's like, did Jason Derulo help you develop the game? Like, did he have creative insight? Did he give you creative insight?
Hopefully not.
I hope that they've actually used the proper studio version of the song that he sang as opposed to the one he did at E3, because by God, I don't think I could do that.
I think he's improving. I've seen his live performances from back in 2009, and he's getting closer to a melody.
I guess you could put it like that.
I mean, I'm not a professional singer or anything, but yeah, well, it's Jason Derulo.
Yeah, I mean, like, no offense to the guy. For all I know, because it's the only time I've seen him perform, for all I know, that could have been a one-off. But you did it at E3, which, I mean, for one, I don't know why you're performing at E3. I mean, I know Ubisoft probably thought it would be a good idea, but in hindsight, it wasn't. I mean, in hindsight, they could have seen what happened last year and been like, okay, let's not do that, but they decided to make it worse.
I mean, the weird thing about Jason Derulo is until he sings his name, or unless you see, like, the title on the song or something like that, you have no idea it's him singing. I mean, he has a #1 single in the UK right now, and I had no idea, and he sung it at E3, and I was just like, I have no idea who you are. And some people in the chat were just like, oh, it's Jason Derulo. They were, like, joking it was just going to be someone like that. And then when it was revealed to be Jason Derulo at the end, I was like, wait, this is actually Jason Derulo? It's like, no one knows who he is.
And then when he actually performed, people were like, oh God, please don't let this be Jason Derulo. Please, no. I had such good memories. Please don't erase them now, E3.
It's an awful choice, but it's not like the Spike TV Awards where they just wheel out, like, celebrities and it goes terribly, terribly wrong.
That's for another video.
Yeah, it was just the one thing. I mean, they occasionally brought out other celebrities like Pele. E3 was the worst for celebrity appearances now that I think about it.
Yes, it was.
But overall, it wasn't too bad. I mean, to kind of summarise E3 generally this year, the conferences, Square Enix and EA were the worst, and they were... Square Enix was like bad and boring, which the worst you can be, and E3 was bad in every way.
EA.
But EA. Yeah, I get those mixed up a lot.
Yeah, no,
EA was like bad in every way that E3 is notorious for.
Yeah.
Like throwing the word innovation out there, just being out of touch, getting this like slimy guy onto the stage, and then like talking like about just games like no one cares about, or just going on about sports endlessly.
No, yeah, that's my major gripe. Like talking innovation to sports franchises which you've been making for about 20 years now. It doesn't seem sincere.
Unless they make like a basketball game, I'm just never going to play an EA Sports game.
Slam dunk! Yeah.
Press X to like psych out your opponent.
But yeah, I think for me as well, I can agree with Square Enix and EA being fairly disappointing.
They were so disappointing it almost brought down what should have been the strongest E3 in years, because Microsoft's conference was good. It wasn't amazing, but it was good.
Yes.
Sony's conference was amazing. Bethesda's conference was amazing. Ubisoft's conference was also good.
Yes.
It's like, let's not go too far.
Nintendo was just, I guess, Nintendo.
There's theories about it, really. It wasn't their strongest year, but I think they're going to one-up it next year. And honestly, they could have played it far worse. It was charming what they did with the Muppets. So once again, I'd say they did good, but not great. But yeah, it's those two conferences just brought down everything.
Yeah.
I've never felt so depressed watching anything in my life. I mean, you could have put on Grave of the Fireflies and it would be more lighthearted than E3.
Oh, God, no. No.
You could have put on anything at all. It's...
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot now because you've just caused me to...
there.
Yeah, I need to regain my composure, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Top 3 games, E3.
Okay, top 3 for me. I don't even like Dishonored 1 that much. I sucked at it, and I have a lot of issues with the game style. It seemed far less open than it was like boasting to be. And overall, while there's a bunch of ways you can assassinate your targets and how much carnage you can cause, ultimately it's a case of like 2 factors. 1, did you take care of them in the unique non-lethal way or not? Did you just shoot them? And option B, did you kill a bunch of guards on the way or not? Those are the only 2 factors which have any influence on anything in the game.
Yes.
But Dishonored 2 looked really cool. I mean, like, the graphics looks gorgeous. I mean, even though it's just like a pre-rendered trailer. But I think Bethesda could make something really useful with that, and I think it's going to be a really good game. So Dishonored's probably like my number 3 on there. As for the other ones, I want to put The Last Guardian on there, because I really, really want the freaking Last Guardian.
Yes, I think everyone can agree with that.
And I know I'm not going to make, like, many fans of this and probably a few enemies, but, like, just on a personal level, like, Mirror's Edge Catalyst just fills me with joy.
Yes.
I'm just like, I can run along a building, and I can deliver packages, because I'm the world's best courier.
Yes.
I just love couriers.
I think the fact that like Mirror's Edge is a unique genre. Like you can argue there are games that are like Mirror's Edge, but it still is unique when compared to most of the other games that were announced this year.
I just love open world freerunning games. I mean, Dishonored has that in its favour. You can go on the rooftops and take multiple routes and things. It's quite similar to the original Mirror's Edge in that regard, really, in that the level's actually quite linear, but there's so many ways of doing things.
Yes.
That's kind of the good thing about it. But yeah, those I mean, there were so many good games. Like Fallout 4 is like absolutely amazing.
Yes.
I could make a top 10 list of the things they showed, and I still have to cut things off. But like some of those would be kind of heartbreaking. I want to put like robot dinosaur monster hunter on there somewhere.
Yeah, the game that I can't remember. It's like Zero something.
I know. Oh, it was such a cool idea.
Yeah, I can agree with your choices. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, what were your top 3 then out of all those?
Okay, well, there's 2 ways I can go about this. Either I can go about the games themselves, which I'm most looking forward to, or the games when they were announced, like which games were announced in a sort of way that appealed to me. If I were just to go on the games I'm looking forward to, it would have to be Kingdom Hearts 3, Fire Emblem, If, I think it is. And probably the last one would be... I would have to go for Last Guardian, because freaking Last Guardian.
I want to put The Last Guardian higher, but I don't own a PS4, and also I'm kind of like sad that they took an entire console generation. Like, it's like Ico and Shadow of the Colossus are on PS2.
Yes.
And then the next game, kind of in the spiritual series, is on PS4. They skipped an entire, 7 years. But it's still so beautiful, and considering all the jokes that were made about it just never being able to turn up, it's just like, oh hey guys, I wonder if we're going to see The Last Guardian at E3 this year. Still so good.
I think if I were to go on the games that they announced and the way that they announcing them, making me want to get the games themselves, I would have to go for Honor being one of them. For Honor looks really good.
That guy, he was just he could sell me anything. He could say, hey, mind if I punch you in the face? And I'd be like, hell yes, I'll pay you for that. It's just so cool.
Well, I mean, the thing is, For Honor is the only game that I saw at E3 which I haven't been doing my own investigations into already, that I actually looked up afterwards.
Wow.
Like, all of the other games, like, talk about Halo, it's like, okay, it's a Halo game. Oh, okay, it's a Gears game. Okay, it's Assassin's Creed. But, like, to have For Honor, like, they've actually had a complete build. Like, you actually get to see the complete build on the conference.
Oh, wow.
And then they had another part of their own conference where they showed you actual game mechanics, like, in detail. And I think that was one of the games that kind of shocked me at how much I liked it, and kind of shocked me in the sense that I was not expecting there to be a game like this via Ubisoft, and I'm impressed. So I think that was probably the biggest surprise for me.
Just look that one up quickly. Let's see. For Honor E3. Blah, 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 blah. It was... Yep, Ubisoft reveal. Wow. Yeah, it's... I mean, I've been looking at trailers and pictures of this, and the more I see of it, the more I'm like, okay, so it's actually growing on me, because freaking Vikings.
Yeah, like, Vikings versus samurais versus knights.
That's such a cool idea. That's a civilization game, but like it's on the battlefield.
Well, I mean, like there have been comparisons for Honor. Like people have been comparing it to Symphony, which was like a free, like sword fighting game that was on Steam, which is actually really good. And they also been comparisons to Pirates versus Vikings versus Knights, whatever game that was, and comparisons to Chivalry. But I think that it was unique enough to actually pull me in. And I was impressed with what they've actually done with the game.
I'm very happy for them for like making something that cool.
Yes.
I think they got a lot of fans with that, and there were just a lot of independent titles they announced this year. They were announcing sequels to like classic stuff, but hey, even for a bunch of things, they just didn't really like go overboard on it. There wasn't like 10 minutes devoted entirely to Call of Duty or anything.
Yes.
As far as I remember. Actually, there might have been. I dropped off in Microsoft at the end, so maybe they were talking about Call of Duty. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to look that one up, actually. I'm kind of curious now as to whether they did that. But yeah, it wasn't the big focus of things, and there were just so many independent titles this year.
Yes.
It was nice. I'm happy they did that. Any closing thoughts on all this?
I am happy with how things went in general. There were a few outliers, but I think that this year was a really big improvement, and I hope they can build on that next year.
Oh, they will when Kingdom Hearts 3 stars Pele and soundtrack by Jason Derulo.
Oh my god, there's a FIFA world! We can go in the FIFA world!
And it's like, once you do that, it just turns into a copy of FIFA 15 or something. And you cannot, like, change it back. It's
like, it's too late now. You now officially own FIFA 16.
EA's Kingdom Hearts 3.
In the game!
Forever.
But yeah, how about you?
Overall, yeah, I think it's E3's always just torture. It's something where it's like the Eurovision Song Contest, and it's a ritual every year you go through, and you're like, maybe there'll be something good or entertainingly bad this year, or maybe we'll hear something like you want it to be entertaining and for something good to come out of it. But there's always a lot of suffering, and at the end of it, you feel like I did not get out of it what I put in.
Yes.
And this year was better. I think many of the conferences were taking a turn for the better, and in another couple of years, if generally EA becomes self-aware, and if Square Enix gets someone charismatic onto the stage, it might actually stop being the butt of jokes.
Yes.
It's taking a turn for the better.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot again quickly. Who would you want to be hosting the Square Enix conference next year?
Me. If you're listening to this, Square Enix, then my services are available. The $5,000. It's like, no, they could have got out anyone, really. I'm not even the best public speaker, but I could at least come across as drunk enough to make it memorable and get people engaged in the game.
Yes.
Just like, oh, hey, that guy's got a wingsuit. Yay.
I think it says a lot when Square Enix, I think, was the only conference to have a... what's it called? Words are escaping me. Like, they had that, like, sort of table thing in front of them where they could... I forget the name of it now. Oh, God, I'm so stupid. But yeah, like, when you have people who are basically... They look like they're just there reading notes.
Oh.
It's like... It feels...
It's like you're a news presenter with a teleprompter or something.
Yes, yes.
Welcome back to Square Enix News. Breaking headline: Kingdom Hearts 3 is in development. No. And on that note, we leave you. Thanks again for joining me, Clarkey.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Back to Castle Ravensdive.
No! Not again!